Hello there. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Colleen Klimczak. I'm an organizational and productivity coach and a certified professional organizer. I own Peace of Mind Professional Organizing, LLC. Since 2003, I've been helping my clients live better lives through organizing and organizational and productivity coaching. I support my clients and my community with coaching, in-person and virtual organizing, my weekly podcast called Your Organized Life with Colleen Klimczak, a free weekly virtual productivity session called Finish Line Friday, a free weekly email newsletter, and regular content on Facebook and Instagram. I also offer presentations and professional development to groups and companies. And coming soon, I'll be launching my membership circle to support my community with even more coaching and productivity content. Want to finish strong this week? Join me for Finish Line Friday every Friday morning at 9 a.m. Central for a 2-hour productivity session. Drop me an email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com to request my Zoom room link or follow the Zoom room link on my Instagram or Facebook pages. Welcome to Your Organized Life, episode 155. 155. Okay, so if you do the math, 52 weeks a year, we are coming up on exactly 3 years since since Chris, my producer, launched my podcast, Your Organized Life. I could say we did it together, I guess. But yeah, we're coming up on the 3-year anniversary, which is pretty cool. And it occurred to me this morning because my first episode I listened to while at a conference. I was sitting in a hotel room in downtown Chicago for a school board conference when I listened to my first episode of this podcast. And that's coming up again. So here we are, 3 years later, which leads very nicely into my topic for today. So there's 2 working titles of this one. I had ChatGPT work on them for me. We'll see which one I decide on. So the first one is Planting with Purpose, The Future Grows From Here, or Harvest Reflections, What Will We Plant Today? So it is harvest time. My garden is done for the year. My mums made it all the way till Halloween, but the first frost browned them up. My rain barrels are drained and everything's put away. I've mentioned before that I am an optimistic but negligent gardener. I'm just happy if something grows. But even this optimistic gardener knows that the garden is done and it's time for harvesting. I mean, the first Thanksgiving was an appreciation for a good harvest, one that produced enough food to hopefully last through the winter, right? Knowing what we know now, what could we plant? What would we plant? What should we plant today to harvest someday in the future? Because metaphorically, since we're speaking metaphorically here, at least I am, we are also always planting, just like we're always harvesting. I was discussing this topic with a friend, and she said that those questions I just asked, might feel overwhelming to ask, but that they are also the simplest and smallest questions and answers that we need to create. Knowing what we know now, what could we plant? What would we plant? What should we plant today? And that is what we look at this time of year, reaping what we've sown. So harvesting and Thanksgiving coming up always lead me to reflect. A few weeks ago, I was invited to the commencement ceremony for one of my recent groups in the Highway Construction Careers Training Program. The 17 students in class 36 that successfully finished their program have so much to be proud of. For context, as I drove, if you live near me, the event was held at South Suburban College at the main campus in South Holland. And I drove home on I-57 that evening, and I passed the McDonald's in Blue Island that's right at the 127th Street exit and I-57. So story time with Colleen, right? So when I first moved to Illinois in 1993, I was a health unit coordinator at St. Francis Hospital in Blue Island. It was a good job. I met great people and I learned a lot. And that was my first foray into healthcare management. I worked the 3 to 11:30 shift. And sometimes I was hungry when I got off work at 11:30 p.m. and I would stop at that McDonald's and grab dinner or a snack and then hop on the expressway and drive home to my tiny studio apartment in Oak Forest It was a little sketchy, but it was mine. The rent was less than $400 a month because, hey, it was the 90s, but it was a good little apartment. And as I drove home that evening, a few weeks ago, past the McDonald's at the exit, awareness hit me like a bolt from the blue. I was driving home from watching my students graduate from their HCCTP program. I was listed in the program that evening as a faculty member. This program at South Suburban College is one of 3 career readiness programs at 3 different colleges and community colleges that I now work with. Career readiness blends the best of teaching and coaching for me. So I was marveling my experiences have brought me here. I got to watch the students that I had taught and supported celebrate and move on to the next step in their lives. And I've often thought that I need a better imagination because never did it occur to me when I moved to Illinois 33 years ago and would stop at midnight for a cheeseburger and a milkshake that somewhere down the road I would have created this career that I have. And it's just amazing. So after that hospital job at St. Francis so long ago, I went to work for the University of Illinois Chicago in their Department of Medicine. And there, the love for adult education began with my medical students and my residents. While I was there, I completed some graduate coursework in health professions education, which is all about educating adults, and that certainly lit a fire under me. Recognizing the importance of lifelong learning and also the student support needed when educating adults, that's where it all started. I started my company 22 years ago to support my clients and community in living their best lives. I started taking coaching classes 13 years ago to improve my communication skills and learn more ways, especially through productivity, to support my clients and my community. All the seeds that were planted along the way bring me to this point. I won't say I'm lucky because I don't believe in luck, and I've worked really hard to get where I am. I do believe in God and His divine providence, and I am grateful every day that the seeds that I planted along the way have yielded such an amazing harvest. I really do love what I do, professionally and personally. I love that in coaching and teaching and presenting and client care, that I get to help people discover their passions and talents, hone their skills, and sharpen their focus to do what it is they want to do in life. And as I drove home that night, I marveled at the seeds sown and fruits harvested that brought me here. I was overwhelmed with gratitude and excitement, and then I thought, I have to share this with my community. So I started recording. Back to that question or group of questions. Knowing what we know now, what could we plant? What would we plant? What should we plant today to harvest someday in the future? Harvests can bring a little pain and recovery too sometimes. So a few weeks ago, I had another basal cell carcinoma removed, this one from my other shoulder. And I get frustrated because I've been very responsible with my skincare and sunscreen for 25 years now. But my kind and accomplished dermatologist, who's been with me through all 4 removals so far, assures me that the carcinomas we're removing now are damage from 40 years ago, before there was sunscreen and the medical knowledge we have now. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to reap what we've sown, and it hurts, even when we didn't know any better. And I'm more resolved than ever. I will continue to make decisions today that will hopefully help 25 years from now Colleen to be healthy and grateful for the seeds planted now. Knowing what we know now, right? What could we plant? What would we plant? What should we plant today? So consider that the choices we make and the actions we take today are going to impact us tomorrow and the next day, and next year, and in 5 years, or 30 years down the road. And doesn't that elevate today? I think it does. As I write this, I am reminded of a Will Evans song that I love. It's called Adam and Eve. And in the song, he says, "The future relies on our actions today." Now, he shares that in the song as a challenge, that the future relies on our actions today. We could be planting seeds today that we would be reaping the benefits of in the future. And would we do something differently if that was the case, or since that's the case? I do want you to answer the questions for yourself if you'd like, and I'll go first. So I remember explaining to my oldest son in a deep philosophical conversation, probably as we were driving in the car, that as a parent, parenting is the long game. Parenting has taught me patience. It takes a long time for those seeds to reach harvest. And other things in life require patience and faith in the long game as well. So we do the work. We continue to put good out there. I do the ministry. I do the service. We do those things because they help people today, but the impact ripples from there. Those seeds will be planted and someday may bear fruit. We keep learning and growing. Finally, for perspective, if this whole episode has just been way too deep for you, sorry about that, but if this seems big or the responsibility feels overwhelming, let's follow the analogy just a little farther. So first up, our actions don't need to be big. Seeds are tiny. It's hard to believe that such a tiny thing will yield anything someday, but it will. We also don't know which of our actions will bear fruit. I don't know if you've looked at any seeds lately, but sometimes seeds for different plants look remarkably similar. So there's always the unknown when we plant them. I planted herbs in my window planter this morning, and the seeds for chives and basil look the same to me, but that's okay. Next up, we got to remember that planting and harvesting take a lot of faith and also a lot of time. So we nourish and nurture those seeds even when they're buried in the earth, because seeds can be slow. Growth can be slow. So slow, we don't even realize it's happening. But it is. We also have to remember that seeds and planting and harvesting are cyclical, which means it may be harvest time, but it's also planting time, because it's always planting time. Right? We have to keep planting the seeds or the harvest won't continue to happen. But here's the best news, I think. We are growing right along with the seeds. Using another parenting analogy, apparently I gave the following advice to a new parent when I talked about my kids heading off to college as they were gazing at their newborn. I said, rest assured, we grow alongside our kids. We grow alongside our seeds. Right? So as we sow those seeds, we might not be able to imagine the harvest in 1 or 5 or 10 or 20 years because we aren't ready for it now, but we will be. And that harvest will be amazing. Support around living your best life, whatever that looks like for you, is what productivity coaching is all about. If it's time to invest in yourself and explore coaching for organizing and productivity, I would love to hear from you. Drop me a line via email at colleen@peaceofmindpo.com or message me through my social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you next week.